I even had a faculty member on the classroom advisory committee basically come right out and say, why do we have projectors at all? Because they felt that we should have displays everywhere and LED everywhere. And there's a place for everything. The idea of putting LED up over chalkboards or whiteboards still scares me. I don't like the viewing angle situation.
What are you doing? How do you make that sound?
On this episode, we discuss lists, UC platforms, and year-end trends. All that and more on EDTech. EDTech episode 137, AI Everywhere. Hello, AV friends, and welcome to another episode of EDTech. As always, we have our panel of awesome higher ed AV professionals, Ernie Bailey. Hey, Ernie.
Hey, Aaron. Glad to be with you again.
Yeah, and Rob Rasberry.
Hey, always great to have the big three together. It's wonderful.
Right? Yeah. So this episode is the last one of 2025, and it's going to be just the three of us. So I figured that since last month I kind of reintroduced Rob, I'd take this opportunity to do the same with Ernie. So it's been a while since we've learned specifically about him. So Ernie, remind the listeners where you work and what you do there.
Okay. I'm with the University of Arkansas for Medical Sciences. We're based in Little Rock. I am officially the IT manager of classroom technologies. We oversee anything in the classrooms, basically audiovisual, but we also do a little bit of workstation support. Specifically, we have a computer in every classroom as opposed to the instructors bringing laptops. So we oversee those. Somehow or another, clocks have become part of classroom technology because students can't carry their phones during a test. So they've got to have a clock on the wall and it's got to be accurate. So that falls under us, and anything else close to technology wise, we take care of. We do our own in-house integration. We install video walls, projectors, audio systems, production systems, all the conferencing gear, anything like that, in any basically non-clinical space on our campus. A different group handles the clinical because rules are a little bit different there. And it was just decided a long time ago to separate. And I think both groups are glad about that. And we do overlap on things and work together. But
awesome. Yeah, it is kind of funny sometimes the things that end up falling under our teams, even though we're like, that's not really AV, but since it's part of the classroom and nobody else owns it, they're like, there you go.
I got rid of the furniture about 15 years ago. That was at one point part of our group too. So that was exciting.
Furniture is a big undertaking. And I hadn't really thought about it until recently. I'm part of the classroom advisory committee, and they have someone regularly going in every room, counting the chairs. They started tagging each of the chairs so that they know when somebody moves them out of a room, like where things are supposed to return to. And I don't want to have part of any of
like
that.
Like an air tag or
just a label.
A label, okay.
Essentially, very low tech. Yeah. Because probably if it was more technical, then they'd want my team to take care of it.
Right. Yeah, we'll leave that to real estate planning and facilities. They can handle that stuff. Yeah.
Well, all right. Let's jump into the articles that we looked at this month. The first article comes from System Contractor News on avnetwork.com. SCN Top 50 System Integrators 2025. So, that's a big varied list all over the place. And so when we think about it, let's be honest, do these lists really matter when we're considering any integration partners?
Rob and I were talking before we started recording about, this. We do our own integration in-house 95% of the time. It's generally if a certain group outside of our teaching areas wants something done and they want it faster than we can do it, we'll say, okay, our labor is free. If you want it faster, you can pay and get it done. And we'll point them to 2 or 3 integrators. The list that we saw are national or international integrators. We have some local ones that are, independent, that they're not going to make this list just because there's not going to be enough people that know about them. They might deserve to be on the list for our area, or they might not, But I looked at the list, and I have worked with some of those on the top 5 when we've needed it, or they provide us box sales of gear that we need to buy through an integrator because the manufacturers will only sell through an integrator. They won't go to any of the commercial sales groups like B&H or CDW. They want it to go through someone who understands it fully, which I understand. But like I said, sometimes we need to buy from one of them, and they're on our list. I was surprised a couple names that I did not see on the list that I would have expected to, just knowing the industry as long as I have.
We are moving towards doing our own installations, but we're nowhere near that. And honestly, this list doesn't make has a big influence on who we decide. It's really more, I'll talk to Ernie or talk to some, peers and see who they like, who they trust, and then sort of do a little research and see what happens and sort of go from there. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And the other thing is this, we're higher ed, and, it's like these integrators that are in the top list are probably most of it, a lot of it's corporate, I would imagine, and other stuff. So it's sort of hard to gauge, what their, aptitude in our areas is. But really, to be honest, really more word of mouth, more taking a look to see, who can best fit our needs. We'll run into, a diversified or something like that here and there. And in fact, diversified, we're sort of looking at asking them some support questions rather than installation questions. But like a top 10, top 20 list, I don't think I've rarely even looked at anything like that.
Yeah, I feel like you hit it, right on with peer recommendations. Mm-hmm. I think that goes a lot farther for me than a list like this. But are there certain qualities of integrators that you look for when you're trying to vet like a new integrator? Because we always have kind of our like top few that we go to, but sometimes somebody falls out of favor, so you got to find a replacement. So what is it that we're looking for?
I would say that I want someone who communicates well. They understand, like I said, we do our own design work and usually do our own install, but if I do have to hire someone, can I send them my drawings? And, will they accept those? Do they want to redraw them? Mm. Do I have to pay for re-engineering of things that we've already done when I have certified engineers on my team? I've gone through that before, where they want to charge us to review a working system. I'm just needing them to put in another one just like it in another room or, another building maybe. They'll want to charge us for the complete integration package engineering. And it's one of those, we may even hand them a program to upload when they finish. So they're not even programming it, but we're paying for that. So, how flexible can they be when they're working with a pre-designed system?
I think also you sort of look at, try to delve in and see what type of clients they have to see if it aligns with what you're doing and the scope of what can be done. It's almost sort of like word of mouth, but a little different. The responsiveness, like Ernie said, flexibility, and the other part of it is, what their follow up is, how they interact, what kind of, and then just sort of getting, locking down on their credo. Do they do their work on time? Are their installers, reliable? If it's a third party installer that they use, is that company reliable? Those kind of things.
Now, do your universities also have geography requirements? Like they give preferential treatment for within certain city limits, or woman owned or minority owned? Are those important factors for you?
Those have been in the past. They're not on the books right now. It changes with the political environment.
Right.
Sometimes that's a requirement, and sometimes not. Sometimes, they might give them a little bit of an edge. But if we're just doing box purchases, then I don't think that comes into play.
Yeah, I think that, the minority or women owned or geography will give you a first look at an integrator, but as far as the ultimate decision, that's not a big factor. Geography obviously has its place, because of service.
That's where I was getting ready to go. So there have been times that we've put in, during the warranty period, whether it's 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, we expect this response time on site. You have 8 business hours to be on site, or 3 business hours, depending on what it is. Maybe you have 30 minutes to have a technician respond to a phone call if they weren't available when you place the initial call, or things like that. But as far as sales go, no.
Okay. Well, yeah. So, any last words about that?
Well, I hate to be cliche, but I'll say bigger is not necessarily better. I mean,
Right. No, absolutely. I mean, there's definitely some trade-offs potentially, but yeah, there's something to be said about those kind of smaller mom and pop shops that really pay attention to the details, and they tend to take a little more time to get to know you and your situations a little bit better, as opposed to kind of, I think the larger a group gets, I think they tend to make a little more assumptions, and they're like, oh, I know higher ed. We know how they are. And the three of us know that, yes, there's a lot of similarities and lines you can draw between all of our institutions, but we all have those little differences that are gonna, it really can make the difference when you are establishing those relationships. Well, all right. Let's go on to the next piece. This one is on uctoday.com, written by Rebecca Carter. The hidden power inside every campus, Microsoft Teams. So before we even started recording, we started talking a little bit about the platforms and how everybody uses a little different thing depending on who the audience is and whatnot. And so, but regardless of what platform we're using, what do we want or need out of these meeting and classroom software platforms?
Oh, that's a really big question. So it's collaboration. It's about collaboration, communicating, sharing information back and forth, multi-directional. So you have to, it sort of goes a lot of times by your audience. It's like, you want ease of use, you want an understandable interface, you want, some robust features, in your platform. But when you start, sort of comparing, it's like, as far as like we use Teams more as administrative, although Teams has come a long way. It's starting to, have a lot more functionality to it. But on the academic side at this point, it's really Zoom. Zoom got in there, found that interface that faculty love, and people have locked into it even, before the pandemic was starting. And then when the pandemic hit, it just, exploded. And the reason there is because Zoom's interface is more user friendly than the Teams. And what's even interesting is like on the backside, Zoom has that dashboard. They have those stats. They have, it's right there. It's easy to see. Teams doesn't really have that unless you have somebody that's really entrenched in the Microsoft infrastructure to take a look at that. So, I mean, ease of use, I think that's what we all want. And, robust functionality, I think, are the two things you sort of look at.
Yeah, I definitely agree. We it was Skype up until
Oh, wow.
the pandemic, and then it became Teams. But we were kind of getting into that. We had a no Zoom license that can be purchased with UAMS funds in January of 2020. In March of 2020 is how many licenses can you buy and can you be the administrator? So with the pandemic, yes, we became a Zoom platform here on campus because it was what a lot of people were using at home to communicate with their families when they couldn't really travel or anything. So we started doing it, and we use, like Rob said, Teams is the administrative tool, and everyone on campus has a Teams license, and you're expected to use that, not pay for something else. But when we're facing our students, we've chosen Zoom because of the features they had at the beginning, and Teams is developing those and seeing them come out, but convincing our courses to change is not going to be easy. They will gripe and complain about what they've got, but they won't change from it to something else because they know it, even if it's not perfect. But like I said, they've liked it. Some of the tools were very easy to use. We have a lot on our campus of the entire student body, or the entire class anyway, 200 students meet together. They're not in sections or anything. So breakout sessions, if we need those, or we could set them up and they stay the same all semester, and it's one touch to move to them. And just a lot of tools, the recording capabilities, the playback for the students, ability to download, faculty's ability to control it, and then Zoom's integration with our other platforms on campus, our learning management system, editing and recording tools that we use, storage space. Zoom integrates seamlessly into those, and no extra charge to integrate into them. So that's, like I said, we've looked at Teams and Zoom, and we will continue to monitor both of them and any other platforms that come out. But right now, we've settled on one for the academic platform. And what do we want? We want, like I said, we want reliability. We want ease of use. We want backups if something happens to recording or something like that. We have all of that, and we're able to seamlessly connect. We have two campuses, with one set of professors, so being able to connect everybody, and at last minute doing it without having to worry about scheduling, we can make all that happen.
So I was going to say, there's some things that Teams actually does better. When you're talking about Teams channels and Teams groups and work groups and research groups, Teams really has the edge on that, and in that respect, it's better. It's better than Zoom. And so the other part of it is, and I'm not going to say economically or whatever, but if your institution is a Microsoft institution, then Teams is already built in there. So that sort of gives you also possibly an economic little bit advantage if you have to choose between one or the other. But having the Teams is to me, it's almost a little more instantaneous. So when you're collaborating in a group, there seems to be a better, not saying that the flow is better, I'm saying the flow is quicker. And also with all the apps that you can, ingest and use on the Microsoft platform, that gives Teams, a nice plus.
Yeah, it's the in call versus out of call experiences. Like Zoom, I love the in call experience way more than Teams. But then Teams has a lot of great collaboration opportunities when you're not in a call. And that it's kind of like, it'd be nice if I could come together. But there's always the people who use Teams messaging even with me, which drives me kind of crazy. But at the same time, I'm like, I get it, because it's part of the Microsoft ecosystem, and sharing those files and things like that, it's fantastic for. But when it comes to that in-call experience, Zoom is way more intuitive, and like the user interface is much better.
The summary, and meeting summaries, and the Zoom AI versus, Microsoft, which has great transcription capability and incorporates Copilot and all that good stuff. Yeah, you're right. I still think that a lot of the faculty and a lot of students sort of, migrate towards Zoom. It's not taking anything really away from Teams because, like I said, collaboratively speaking, it's amazing. That also, you sort of, I'm not going to say feel safer, but the Microsoft, security, authentication, all that kind of stuff, can sort of put some of the more secure stuff at ease, even though Zoom is, perfectly capable of doing a lot of that and encryption and this kind of stuff.
Okay, so this last one comes to us from Commercial Integrator, and it's the Best of AV in 2025, 5 trends that defined the year. And this one was written by Nathan Firesheets. What defined 2025 for you and your campuses?
I'll have to go along with the AI and everything, which is kind of a challenge here, because when you start bringing in AI into a health science environment, you get HIPAA issues, and there's FERPA issues. So we actually have a governance council that reviews any AI product being brought onto campus. They work very well. Their goal is to approve anything they can, not see how much they can keep off of campus, which is good, but they do make sure that the campus remains safe. But I think, that is a lot of it, and that's the number one thing listed here. One thing I did not see on here that I think we definitely saw at InfoComm, Aaron, I think you and I spoke about it, is everybody has a complete platform now. So, all the different manufacturers say, we can do everything you need. We can provide your AI, we can provide your audio, your video, your recording, whatever else you may need. But sometimes you don't want one company that does it all. You want the best audio company, the best video, the best processing, the most reliable recording, things like that, that can work together. If I'm going to use this new product that comes out, I'm going to have to change all of my classrooms completely, not start modifying the next one that comes in, and adding one tool that can still seamlessly fit in and work with our existing programming, so that we're not having to rewrite everything. So I think those were the two biggest things that I saw.
Yeah, I would totally agree with you, Ernie, and especially AI everywhere seems to be the real big thing that happened this year. And for us to understand to use AI as a tool to assist what we're doing instead of having it sort of replace a lot of I would say what's the word I'm sort of looking for? We want to use it as a tool, but not as the end all be all. You know, have AI assist you and you guide AI to use it how you want it to help increase your efficiency and, you know, and do that kind of thing. I'm just trying to think if there was really, you know, anything else, because it was interesting on the list that was sort of funny is, you know, moving away from manufacturers that you're basically mad at. When did that happen? I think that's been something that's been around for decades, I think.
Yeah.
So,
That's human nature.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, you know, I saw the LED and, you know, moving that technology and displays, that kind of thing. Okay, I could see that. But AI definitely was at the top of the list.
Budgeting for lifestyle or life cycle management. We started that 20 some years ago. Yeah.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Yeah, it was like, what industry were people working in that they didn't have to budget for life cycle?
I think we know. So I think that this should have said maybe top 5 trends in higher ed, AV. That would have been interesting to compare the two to see how they matched up.
Oh, absolutely.
But AI would have probably been at the top of both. So,
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I definitely, the LED everywhere was one that would definitely kind of resonated with me and my team this year, because I even had a faculty member on the classroom advisory committee basically come right out and say, why do we have projectors at all? Because they felt that we should have displays everywhere and LED everywhere. And there's a place for everything, especially in the world where chalkboards are still very popular. And the idea of putting like LED up over chalkboards or whiteboards still scares me. I don't like the viewing angle situation.
Exactly.
But
we're looking at, moving furniture off of walls and having basically 3 walls of presentation space, have the main display on the front wall and whiteboards or chalkboards to the side, and giving the instructor room to move around.
Yeah. Well, and that leads to my other thing that wasn't on the list, flexibility. I feel like, even though hybrid learning and active learning have been a thing for a while, I feel like finally, maybe it's just on my campus, that the flexibility in the classrooms has become more and more of a need, as opposed to that'd be nice. And so they want everything to be flexible, from moving the furniture everywhere. They want to be able to write anywhere. They want to be able to display everywhere. So it's been fun trying to think of like how we can make this make everybody happy, but keep it flexible.
We even have what we call flexible learning centers that are like that. Movable furniture, wireless response mics on the tables for the students as they move around, displays on every wall. And about half the displays are interactive, so they can go up and write, and then it shows up on the other displays in the room. So kind of an enhanced active learning center.
Yeah, it's interesting because a lot of the classrooms that I deal with are general use. So a large portion of them don't really need that full functionality. But as you get into more specialized spaces, and I would have, I hate to say, as you go up in that course ladder, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, whatever, the need for that flexibility becomes much more important and almost critical now. when you're working in groups, researching, doing projects, project-based stuff, that kind of thing. So, yeah, absolutely.
All right. Any last thoughts on 2025 before we close it out?
Glad it's coming to an end.
Yes.
Let's bring on 2026. No.
That's right.
I'm right there with you.
So next month we'll talk about the challenges we face in 2026, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. We keep on keeping on and handling what life dishes out to us.
Oh, so you know what I was going to say, and I don't know if this has really affected everybody as much, but what about technology increase in price? I don't know if yet the effect of taxing and imports, has that hit both of you, hard, or is this something that we're really going to really feel in 2026 versus 2025?
We're starting to feel it in some areas, but not as much as what we were fearing.
Okay. I agree with that. Yep.
Right. Because I think part of it for us is we weren't feeling it as much because we consciously were like, we bought early, right. And then we're like, all right, we won't buy much. And then, but I think our 2026 projects are going to definitely be interesting when with the price tag. So yeah, even though we budgeted for the life cycle, probably didn't budget nearly as much as we will need to have. Well, all right, gents, I appreciate you both, and this was a great way to wrap up our year here.
Yes.
Agreed.
So if anybody wants to get in touch with you after this episode, how might they, Ernie?
LinkedIn.
And how about you, Rob?
What Ernie said, I'm on LinkedIn.
Fantastic. And as for me, you can find me on LinkedIn, on the HETMA community, and each month here on AVNation's EdTech podcast that can be found on YouTube or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. You can also find other AVNation podcasts like AV Career Mastermind, State of Control, Women in AV, and more. So have a happy holiday season and a happy new year. See you next time.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AV Nation.
This is AV Nation.